This is Arab Talk on KPOO San Francisco, 89.5 FM. This is Arab Talk with Jess and Jamal. I'm Jess Jamal.
And this is Jamal Dajani.
Jamal, we have a great show today. We're very fortunate to have Professor Rabab Abdulhadi with us in studio. We have a big show today. The title of our show has to do with white supremacy and the defeat of lawfare. There's a lot to go on. We're going to be covering the groundbreaking lawsuit that Professor Abdulhadi, that was leveled against her by the Lawfare Project, which she won in an amazing ruling by Judge Orrick here in San Francisco. But before we get to that, appropriately, we have to talk a little bit about the catastrophic events that have been going on, having to do with the kind of unleashing, I think is the best word to talk about, the unleashing of white supremacy that is happening in this country right now. It's just been extraordinary.
And, of course, the sad news of the murder of 11 members of the Jewish community at a synagogue in Pittsburg.
In Squirrel Hill.
While they were worshiping.
Yeah, while they were worshiping. This is a kind of tragedy that just is devastating, not only to the community in Squirrel Hill, but devastating for all of us who believe in justice, who believe in the indivisibility of justice, and who are concerned, like we are, about the kind of spreading of hate, the spreading of white supremacy ideology, and the encouragement that white supremacists have been receiving in this country. Not just the encouragement, but the support that they've been getting from the current administration. It's really having a devastating impact on many people.
So let's backtrack a little bit about the events. I mean, this week
was a horrible week.
Was a horrible week. It started with all these letter bombs that were sent, and then we find out that this was sent by a white supremacist. He was well known, traveling around in a van. All what you have to do is look at his van and at all the posters on his van to know his intentions. And of course, the Trump administration doesn't talk about this. They don't make that connection. He has been at every single rally. He's a big supporter of the Trump administration. Of course, he gets caught. Then we have these horrific attack on worshippers. 11 people got killed. And we find out this guy is an anti-Semite, but he's also targeting, he's an Islamophobe, he's targeting within that synagogue an organization that helps refugees. Amongst the refugees are refugees from Syria and other countries. What's the connection?
Okay, let me back up a little bit and say that also there were a couple of days earlier, on Thursday, there was a black people in Kentucky. And these killings, there is multiple things that we can talk about. The first thing is the question of how do we think about free speech and protected speech? What's happening here, but by the Trump administration, by people in power, is that there is the weaponizing of free speech. This is weapon. This is they call it protected speech, but in fact, this is hate speech that is an incitement to violence. And we've been arguing about this, if you want to bring it to our local, for a very long time, including when all the groups from Canary Mission to Amcha to David Horowitz to Campus Watch have been doing this again and again. And again, there has been sort of excusing of them by the administration, by the Trump administration, by various bodies, including California State University.
That's right.
And people who are talking about it, until there was actually a big article in the New York Times talking about weaponizing free speech for the right wing. And that was only talking about speech, as if speech and actions are separate from each other.
Yes.
We've also had this experience 2 weeks ago at San Francisco State University, and the university is not doing anything about it, which is, and then we have this guy, the letter bombs, and then we also have the killing of the worshippers, people who are in a place of worship. And this is the same guy who's actually posting all these things on his Facebook. The same thing happened in 2015 when Stephen Hicks killed 3 young students, Arab students, Diya Barakat and the Abu Salha sisters. went and shot them point blank. Actually, he actually pointed the gun and assassinated them in their home.
No, he
in their
shot
house,
them in the back of the head.
In the back of the head,
Yeah.
and they were and we, at the first the police, the district attorney was saying, "Oh, this is just a fight over a parking space." And it's very interesting because on that day, actually, there was nothing about the park, and the girls have already let him have his say in the parking space, do whatever he wants, and so on. But he had all this stuff on his Instagram, on his Facebook, and so on. So all of this stuff is actually great cause. If you want to talk about it directly, it's a very great cause of concern, and it should be even more than concern. It should be ringing alarm bells about what does this mean. The other thing that my mind goes when we think about the worshippers being killed, it goes to 1994 and Baruch Goldstein, a doctor from Brooklyn, who actually went into the Ibrahimi Mosque in Hebron and shot 29 worshippers who were also worshiping in a house of God.
That's right.
They were worshiping, and now in Hebron, the Shahada Street has been closed, 2,000 businesses have been destroyed, and also they have a square called Baruch Goldstein Square for him that is being protected by the Israeli military.
Any memorial.
Anymore. So what we're talking about here is that we're talking about the violence itself. That's actually a hateful crime. That every single act, every life is precious life. Every life should be mourned. Every human life, all lives are equal. There are no lives who are more important than other, and there is no ifs or buts. We don't say but. This is unacceptable. Okay, stop. Okay, and then we talk about what is the motivation of the killers. Then we talk about where is the state's responsibility? Where are the authorities, the people in power? What's their responsibility to protect people? And what is the solution then? And some of the Israelis, like they say, oh, you should just arm yourself more. Or somebody like Michael Orens in the New York Times says,
Right.
oh, the only thing is for the American Jewish community and Israel to be unified, because the biggest problem is whether people are praying at the Wailing Wall together or not, and the biggest problem whether, who is defined as a Jew and so on. And I, of course, think there is very extreme way of defining who is a Jew, which actually the crisis began when the Ethiopian Jews were quote unquote rescued,
Right.
which they were kidnapped, brought to Israel, and then
And now they're being expelled.
the Rabbinic Council was saying, oh no, they're not actually Jewish. They need to reconvert. Okay, so there was something. It's very interesting because nobody actually said the same thing of the Russians. 1 million that came to Israel. Many of them were not even Jewish.
No,
so
many were
there is
Christians.
racial aspects of it as well. I mean, this is so you have that's actually, yes, it's true, but actually why aren't you talking about white supremacy? Not a single word in his op-ed talks about white supremacy. Not a single word talks about the fact that this guy who went and killed the worshippers in Pittsburg in this synagogue actually was talking, and he was anti-Islamophobic. He was acting against all immigrants, as you said, Jamal. How come you don't speak about that? I mean, why is it that you're only talking about one particular aspect that serves the interests of Zionism and Israel? And this is really, I mean, this is quite troubling.
Yeah, it is very troubling. I just want to let our listeners know that that's the voice of Professor Rabab Abdulhadi, one of the foremost authorities on Palestine, justice, gender issues, scholarly director and founder of the Ahmed program at San Francisco State. The one thing that you should remember also is that Trump said that the murder in the house of worship in Pittsburgh would have been prevented if there were more guns.
Yes, and actually...
This is the solution.
And the
More
family
guns.
of Stein told him, don't even bother coming.
Yes.
We do not want you here.
We don't want you here.
And people actually stood up and said, we don't want you here. People from very multiple Jewish groups said, we do not want you. We do not want Naftali Bennett, who is one of the most racist Israeli politicians and the co-founder of the Israel Jewish home.
So what do you say to the connection? You mentioned Naftali Bennett. You mentioned also not only Naftali
Michael
Bennett, but
Burrows,
also the Israel ambassador to the United States,
Yes.
which was staged. He went to receive Donald Trump at the synagogue, then making both of them similar statements saying that the rise of anti-Semitism in this country is due to all the rhetoric on college campuses and by progressives.
Well, first of all, birds of a feather. Let's just say birds of a feather. I mean, this is a whole bunch of racists, white supremacists, racists who justify the killing and the violence against other people are all joining up with each other.
Right.
I think the same, and people really need to, it's very interesting. I read the New York Times, as you know, and of course, I'm revolted by how the tone of the newspaper is said about everybody, but particularly about Palestine. It's kind of, there is exemplarized place to be extra racist around Palestine. But you look at it and you see Trump with one breath is actually talking against the migrant refugees who are coming in the caravan, basically calling people But he first was calling them thugs and killers and so on.
But
then
now
when
they're
it all
secret. Now they're secret
they're
Arabs.
They're secret Arabs and Muslims who are ticking
Secret
bombs waiting
ISIS,
to go,
yes.
right? Okay, and then at the same time they are actually trying to deflect what's going on. Trump is saying, "Oh, we should have more guns." And actually, when Zionist politician of Brooklyn say, "Oh, I'm going to go get myself a license," as if that's the solution. Why do you have to have more guns instead of having less guns? Well, a very simple solution: gun control. I mean, that's one of the major things that people can actually do. Gun control. The same thing happens with our schools and everywhere else. Is that gun control? You do not arm teachers. You do not arm students. You do not actually provide. Weapons are only made to kill. That's the only function they have. There is no other function for weapons. You add more weapons, there will be more violence and more killing. You want to reduce more violence and your killing, it's very simple. Stop the National Rifle Association. But go ahead.
I think I wanna like do a deeper dive in this, because I think you're making a really important point for our listeners and our viewers, which is this close relationship between Zionism and white supremacy. When you say birds of a feather,
right,
what you're really talking about is the racist foundation of the Zionist project.
Right.
It's close collaboration with the white supremacy project here
in the U.S.
Isn't that part of the birds of the feather? You're talking
it's very
about?
much part of it, and I think it is not accidental. I mean, people say, "Oh, why is the president not saying this?" Of course, there is this call on the president to be presidential, and the people who are in an office have an added responsibility,
yes,
aside from their own personal views and so on. So this personal views does not really work. Okay, but because they have to be held accountable to the public, they're no longer just speaking for themselves. So that there is that. But the other aspect of it is that you can see about like the venom and the racism that's coming out of the president's mouth, and also of the mouths of Israeli leaders. I mean, this is the same Israeli leaders, and then also Michael Oren, by the way, in the same op-ed in the New York Times, actually justifies the nation state law that Israel has passed, and say, "Oh, because we're a democracy, we pass it." And so, democracy for whom, by whom, and what are you doing? Okay,
Yeah.
So be very democratic about proposing more apartheid. That it's very sad.
It's democratic
and it's also,
apartheid.
It's also undermining all the Israelis who are actually protesting at the border in Gaza, saying we support the Palestinians. From the other side, there was a very courageous, heroic, amazing thing that happened this past week. People who are saying we don't want to subscribe to this, and also the many voices of people in the Jewish community who are saying, do not speak for us. You actually are not speaking for us if you are collaborating with the Israeli government. You're not speaking for us if you are only saying that only Jewish lives are valuable, because all lives are valuable. There have been groups that issued statements, including Jewish Voice for Peace. One of the first statements,
right,
them and American Muslims for Palestine were actually the first statements that were put out,
right,
after the Pittsburg murders. And then you have a group, if not now, you have all these young people who went to Pittsburgh and protested and said, "You're not welcome here, Donald Trump. You're not welcome here, Naftali Bennett." We do not want this kind of speech, and because speech, this is the thing, is that speech is not disconnected from the actions.
You
call for violence. You call for violence. They're very intimately connected, and one of them leads to the other. Especially if they're coming from the highest places, because that's how you mobilize violence. That's how you mobilize racism.
But
well, also besides speech, there is also being tone deaf,
right,
and ignoring telltale signs.
Right.
If we want to go back to Charlottesville,
yeah,
for example. Yes. You know, when people white supremacists were marching in the streets,
yes,
hoisting Nazi flags and shouting, "Jews will not replace us." Remember that?
Yes,
in
I
2017.
remember.
And by the way, may I just say something that Yair Netanyahu's son, said that actually these people in white supremacists are not really a huge threat. What really is the threat are the leftists and Antifa.
Well, that's right.
And Richard Spencer said, "I'm a white Zionist." I mean, and then we get the big statement by Trump is, "I'm a nationalist." I mean, this is all. And if you look at the websites of all these killers, actually, they're very similar. They're drawing from the same well. They're all putting Nazi signs. They're all saying National Socialism. They're all making, statements against Muslims, against Jews, against blacks, against immigrants, against Arabs, against Palestinians, against women, against queer people. I mean, this is like a policy of hate that's actually talking. And I think really it's really important, because people forget that the Nazism also called for quote unquote the purity and the supremacy of the Aryan race. I mean, all of this stuff is not disconnected from each other. I think it's really, this is why we also have academic
So you talked about
to educate about
earlier
stuff, yeah.
about basically, and I don't like to compare struggles, but the administration has been ignoring them. The law enforcement has been ignoring them.
That's right.
And I'm just going to use actually a very new example where I read at San Francisco State University in the college paper that there is a white supremacist right on campus.
Yes.
And
I mean,
who
there's
was
more.
Nazi who was reported, and he was also kind of ignored, like,
Yes.
okay, well, so
Not
what?
kind. Not only he was actually counseled by the dean of students and by the chief of police.
So when you have these telltale signs and you don't remedy, or you don't look at you don't preempt their action, what's San Francisco State University waiting
You're sending
for?
a signal that this is okay. That this is the problem, is that you are not actually making preventive measures by education, by example, by speaking, by making it public, that this is not going to be tolerated, that you cannot just hide behind quote unquote free speech and weaponize it for the interests of the right wing. The First Amendment is not only about free speech. The First Amendment came as a result of long-term struggle by people to assemble, to organize, to speak. I mean, this is something that people had fought for, and now the right wing picks it up and talks about, it's about their right and so on. But that's not what really
No,
it is.
it's not.
It is the responsibility of educational institutions, public education, to stand up and tell the public that this is not tolerated, that hate is not tolerated, that's racism, that Islamophobia. And it's also very interesting is that we're the only ones at San Francisco State who are speaking about it. I'm speaking about it. My students are speaking
And
about
that's
it.
it.
But it's kind of like I'm wondering, where are all the other people who were saying that might be anti-Semitism at San Francisco State? How come nobody is speaking about it? It's a concern, should be concern for everybody. I mean,
Well, because they don't believe in the indivisibility of the term. But I want to go back to something you said, Rabab, because you're saying that at San Francisco State it gives these racist haters license to come out and to hate more.
Right.
But
let's say an example. For example, Horowitz put up Canary Mission put up the posters October 14. San
Nothing.
Francisco State nonchalantly dealt with it. And then there are 3 other sets of posters. So we have 4 sets of posters. One of them you and I were on it, right? On September 21st. But
Right.
hold on. The interesting thing is that the chief of police actually says that they called Horowitz and told him, please give us heads up next time you want to put up posters. I mean, like, why?
because they want to support him.
If suppose you think you want to be protective, let's argue, for the sake of argument, the benefit of the doubt, that they want to be supportive of all equality. You're emboldening, making it encouraging a bully who only can become more of a
you're
bully if you
legitimizing
are
it.
letting them and legitimize
Right.
them and actually treating them as a legitimate source.
Right.
Instead of you are saying that this San Francisco State is no place for hate.
Period.
It's no place, you cannot be doing this. And then also it seems that last week some students went up and took it upon themselves to put posters around warning the campus. The police immediately went and removed all the posters, even though we found out that this doesn't violate time, place, and manner.
Wow.
And if you read the article in the Golden Express, this recent article too, there is a couple of corrections in it, which I've already spoken to the reporter, and he's fixing them already. But so that will be in the next correction, in the online and in the next correction. But the chief of police actually is like saying that they're going to be protective of this. I mean, I don't really understand.
Yes, you do.
Would understand. I would only understand. I don't understand on the face of it, because this is a disparate treatment of the law. I mean, at the very basic, and I'm asking for more. I'm asking to push the envelope. But even at its basic level, this is a very different way of application of the law. This is hypocrisy. You're applying the law in one place. You're applying the rules in one place, in one way. And then the second thing, the other thing you asked me about, Jamal, and let me just segue into what's going on, is that San Francisco State actually declined to comment on the amazing victory we had. They declined to comment. Why would a university decline to comment on a huge victory we've made when they save millions of dollars in fees and also the reputation of the university that we have been accused of?
So
wait a minute,
this is a segue
Right.
to our next segment.
And let's
Since
give-
you brought it up, just to remind our listeners who have joined us late
Let's
and
give us some
others who are not
context for
familiar
this.
with it, but it's basically very new. So this is only a couple of days ago, a federal judge dismissed the lawsuit against San Francisco State University and against you personally,
Yes.
Professor Rabab Abdulhadi. And basically, that lawsuit was to force basically university to restrict the speech of students and faculty who support Palestinian freedom.
Shut muzzle. Let's not even restrict.
So they
Silence and shut us down.
so
and
the
dismantle
the
Ahmed
case
Studies
we're talking
program.
about is Mendel versus Board of Trustees, and it was first filed in 2017.
June 2017.
You remember the June
course I
2017 by the Lawfare Project, by the way, which is a right-wing anti-Palestinian organization with an explicit plan to inflict, that's quoting from their website,
mission statement.
massive punishments
This is
against
Brooke
critics
Goldstein,
of
their executive
Israel.
director. Yeah.
And this was, this was dismissed in March of 2018 by Judge William Orrick III.
That, yes.
And it was dismissed with prejudice, meaning that he gave them time to amend the lawsuit. So
Change
they've
it.
amended
Several chances.
several
I think
chances.
at least 3, right? Two or
Okay,
three.
so they filed the lawsuit in June 2017. They wanted, we asked my lawyers after took me a while to find lawyers. I got this amazing lawyers, Mark Kleiman and Mehnam Gargagozli, and I want to shout out for them because they are amazing.
They are amazing.
And so we filed a motion to strike me of the lawsuit because they're saying this is against San Francisco State. They amended it. And then the judge on November 8th, 2017, we had a hearing and he dismissed the lawsuit and said to them, out of abundance of caution, and this is in his very well-reasoned, very organized opinion, I'm going to give you a chance to go and fix the problems. You are putting hodgepodge of all 77 pages of all sorts of accusations. You're piling out things that, irrelevant. You're coming from everywhere else, a whole laundry list of things and so on. Bring me something lean and clean. And he said then at the time that just because about me, she is anti-Zionist and supports Palestinian resistance does not make her anti-Semitic. You need to show that this is the case. So then went around, what they did when they basically sued me individually.
That's
so
right.
now I'm not just being sued as faculty, a member of San Francisco State. I'm being sued individually, which the intent was to actually bankrupt me
Right.
and threaten me. It's kind of, you want to live your life, you really need to give up. Give up. Just accept, have a settlement, accept, and so on. And from the beginning, I said, no settlement. I'm not settling, and we did a big campaign to prevent the university from settling, because we were very worried that they're going to settle, and we said, no way are we going to allow San Francisco State, California State University, myself, the Ahmed Studies Program, College of Ethnic Studies, all of us, we're not going to allow this false accusation that Palestinian scholarship, teaching, and advocacy produces anti-Semitism. There is anti-Semitism at San Francisco State, as we know now.
Yes.
We've got violence.
But it's not-
it has nothing, and actually we're the ones who are fighting against it.
Exactly.
Which is, has nothing to do, it is disconnected completely with Palestine. And so we fought against it, and we were able to succeed to have the lawsuit move forward. So the judge dismissed it on November 8th. In March, he wrote his opinion, submitted his opinion. At the end of March, they came around and they added more things. Then they added my criticism of President Wong, who said Zionists are welcomed, right? They added it and they came like, okay, so I'm sorry, this is my opinion. And I'm sorry for you if there are new Jewish group on campus, Jews Against Zionism got formed. I'm sorry because Jewish Voice for Peace in the Bay Area. It's like Boots Riley says, sorry to bother you.
Yes.
I'm sorry to bother you, but you made it. You're the one who created it from the first place. You created this false allegation. You created a frivolous lawsuit in order to tie me in litigation so I would not be able to do my work. And you created it in order to convince San Francisco State, if they had any doubt, that they should fight me tooth and nail, not to allow me to exist, not to allow me to do my work, not to allow me to do my scholarship, to teach my classes, not to allow us to have the courses we want at the Ahmed Studies Program. So basically shut us down completely, like take no prisoner, scorched earth policy.
Right.
It was really war of attrition in order to force me to say, I give up. And I said, no, I'm not going to give up. I'm sorry. I will never, ever accept a label of anti-Semitism. I will never, ever accept that struggle for justice for Palestine is anything but part of the indivisibility of justice. I will never stop teaching. I will never stop, even if San Francisco State got confused why they hired me, and they would like to stop me. I'm going to try to do my job. It is my responsibility to do my job towards my students, my community, my university, and I've been doing it. So they want to shut us, they want to muzzle us, they want to destroy
But the judge
us.
gave them 3 chances,
Yes.
Rabab.
Yes, and then they came up not lean and clean. They piled up all this stuff, and he said to them, no. And then they came up and they said, oh, but you know, the BDS movement is extreme, and BDS movement is calling for violence and so on. And the judge said, and they said, oh, and they quote U.S. Campaign for Academic and Cultural Boycott. So we asked the judge if he would allow, it's called judicial notice, if he would allow to look at it. And the judge accepted. So now the U.S. ACB website is actually part of the things that the judge looked at. So it's back tax on them. I mean, this is the thing, is like, you know, give it up. I'm just saying, I don't have advice for this Lawfare move. Over 900 lawyers, millions of dollars, the Lawfare Project, the Israel lobby machine behind them, and so on. And we are, and you know, like, we're small in terms of our capacity, but we have justice. We have the word community.
Well, we have
behind
justice
us.
on our side.
So,
We
so
have-
just,
we
just,
have a big
just,
coalition
just,
too.
no,
Yeah.
we actually have to talk about it and remind the listeners that this has taken a lot out of you,
It has.
a major toll. It's been going on since June 2017.
Only the Lawfare.
Only the law firm. Yeah,
the
but
attacks
this
earlier, too.
particular,
Yeah.
and so just to quote the judge here, Judge Orek, this is one of the things that he said, that basically that the Lawfare Project's complaint is devoid of facts alleging discrimination.
Oh,
he
oh,
wrote,
yeah, yes.
he wrote,
very
absolutely no
powerful.
facts have been alleged to support their mere assertion of differential treatment.
Yes.
Which is very powerful.
Right.
You
And
know.
by the way, the first time in June 2017, they had 24 references where they said on information and belief. Means that they think, they imagine there might be something, but there is nothing. Then they requested public records from the university. University gave them public record. The stuff, at least from what the university shared with us, that they gave to Lawfare, we don't know what else they gave. And they haven't responded to our request, like serious requests for public record. But they gave them 440 pages
Wow.
of my communication with Al-Najah National University, because they have this theory, and which actually been organized in a campaign by Campus Watch, for whom Brooke Goldstein used to work, by the way. Okay, and they said they wanted San Francisco State to end its memorandum of understanding, collaborative with Al-Najah National University, because I am engaging in indoctrinating students in terrorism, because you know students have no brains, and you know, and I have like this devious design and so on. So then the university gave them 440 pages, everything. They did not even filter any.
Wow.
They came up and they revised the lawsuit, and they took out Al-Najah from it. It's not there anymore.
They took
wasn't-
it out completely.
Yeah, they took it out. They never came and said, we're really sorry because we accused you of this.
Wow.
And they continued afterwards. And Campus Watch continues, and AMCHA and all of them. Even when I was going to Palestine in March for the Teaching Palestine project with Birzet and Al-Najah, when I was getting on the flight, there is tweets about me. I'm organizing with the terrorist university. I'm so, you know, Rabab Abdulhadi is so proudly organizing with Birzet University and so on. The smear campaign continued. Okay,
Wow.
they never came back and apologized. They claim that I actually differentiate in my classes between, I discriminate between students who are pro-Zionist, okay, and students who are anti-Zionist. And I actually, at that time, I even put it on my Facebook and I said, I dare you, show me evidence. Show me
Yeah.
evidence. Show me evidence. All my classes are, we have something called I Learn on it, on all the stuff. Show me, okay? Then they pulled it out. They took it out. And they never even came
They
and
should
said
have
to me, but then
apologized.
they continued churning this. They put in it the AMCHA accusation from 2014, from 2013 that we glorified the murder of Jews, and 2014 that I misused university funds. 3 university audits, including 5-year audit from an international.
Harassment.
All of it, every single one of them cleared me, and not a single one of them was about receipts. Then they continue, they put it in the lawsuit again and again and again and again. I'm kind of like, give it up. And the only reason I could understand why they continue doing it, because they want to really put me out of business. They want to litigate me to death. They have tons of resources. They believe that if they continue pushing, I'm going to surrender, or I'm going to end up in the hospital or something less. And I'm telling them, I'm sorry, guys, give it up.
Well, here's the
I am
question.
not going anywhere.
Wait, before a question, we got to do a little station break. You're listening to Arab Talk on KPOO in San Francisco. We're at 89.5 FM. This is Arab Talk with Jess Jamal. We have Professor Rabab Abdulhadi in studio, and we're discussing probably the greatest legal victory on
For quite a while.
for quite a while
About university campuses.
about campuses, about free speech, about defending the right of faculty to teach, to defend the right to speak about Palestine.
to do scholarship. It's
To do
academic
scholarship.
freedom. It's not just about Palestine.
No, but
It's
that's
about,
my point. And
academic
ultimately,
freedom.
to do about academic freedom.
Yeah.
I think probably one of the greatest victories in recent memory.
Yes.
And you know what, Rabab? We have to thank you because nobody really knows
Yeah.
what you've been through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
And the toll that it took on you
Yeah.
and your family and the students was
Yeah.
great.
Yes, and everybody.
But we have a word in Arabic, right, Rabab? Samud,
Yeah.
steadfastness.
Yes.
You stood steadfast
Yeah.
in the face of these vicious attacks, these legal attacks. I mean, we're talking about millions of dollars being thrown.
It's been quite nasty.
And I'll tell you,
It's been quite nasty.
and
Very
yet,
toxic. Yeah.
very toxic,
Yeah.
and yet you are victorious.
Yeah, I am, and I'm actually, and I would need saying this because I've actually stayed that night up till like 6 in the morning, writing my thank yous, and I was going to put like tag people, and then I thought I will never finish this. It's going to take me like 3 days to tag people because I remember where each person was, with what people did, who did this. This was incredible. I will tell you something. When I was targeted, just a small example, there is a big group of women's movement in Nablus, in my hometown. And the way that they decided to support me, they organized a day of boycott of Israeli goods. This to me is kind of like, it's amazing, okay? The students decide to do it by actually going around and saying, no, free speech for all, we support, we take more classes, they come to events. The strikers from 1968, they said, we're going to support you, we're going to come to your class, and we're going to do an event which was on October 3rd. They actually spoke up and shared their oral histories with the students. I mean, this is how people do it. You had me on the show multiple times. People have raised money. People have supported in all sorts of ways. People have written about it. People have invited me to speak. It's, yeah, I said, I'm a long-term organizer, community organizer. I will never, ever allow to go down in history with the accusations. This is false accusation. This is a frivolous lawsuit. As much as I can, I'm going to fight it. And I was really, really, really fortunate because sometimes people have the justice on their side, but the conditions don't come up with each other. So like, just to be very clear about not exceptionalizing, being very clear that this is about movements. People came together, the lawyers came together, people were on the calls every week, week after week. People have given so much support and so on. This is what allowed us to stand. And
let's just say, you've defeated the Lawfare Project, a well-oiled, well-funded hate machine, in my opinion.
Yes,
It is a hate machine.
Along with their law firm of 900 plus lawyers, Winston, Limited Partnership, they also had a huge defeat.
Yes.
I've attended the first
Court.
hearing.
Yeah.
There were more lawyers than
People.
basically
Defendants.
on their part. I mean, the people were on the side of Dr. Rabab Abdulhadi.
Yeah.
The people who showed up.
The judge had to remove them, put them in the jury box to make space for
Yeah, so we had to have 2 rooms,
Yeah.
Jess. But they came, when they came, I thought, well, they're bringing eyewitnesses, they're bringing this.
No,
it
it's
was
just
just-
lawyers.
It's just like lawyers carrying briefcases with them.
Yeah.
They had more than 20 of
But it
them
was-
sitting
it was
inside the
staged.
There
courthouse.
were a few. I don't know how many, but
No,
quite
there were a
few. There
whole-
were quite a few.
Rabab,
Sitting
it was
there.
staged.
Yeah.
So
of course
it is a
was.
big
Yeah.
defeat.
Yeah,
Let's just like look at this.
Yeah.
Really, it's very
No,
important.
it's a huge defeat.
It's a huge defeat.
Yes.
It's a vindication,
Yes.
not only to you personally, but to academic freedom.
Right.
And I've been looking actually on a daily basis at the Lawfare Project website and
Nothing.
their Twitter account. Nothing.
Silence.
Silence.
Radio
They
silence.
What are they
usually
going to say?
they usually
What are they going
update
to
and
say?
they put, we are suing this group, we are doing
No,
that
they
group.
say they would appeal.
No,
or
this is the interview, but not on. They can't post. They haven't posted.
There's nothing to post.
Judge Oryx
What are they going to say?
judgment. They didn't post it. We posted.
Yeah.
And I have also to say that's something also we have to talk about this. You had an excellent judge.
Yes.
Someone who understood the law, I mean, which we
Yeah.
assume all
Well-
judges understand the law, and
Took his job very seriously.
and took his job very seriously. So I would say, you know, was fair. He was patient, gave them not one chance,
Right.
many
Not two.
chances,
3 chances.
took his time to render his judgment
Twice.
and write
Twice.
write an explicit
Opinions,
brief
yeah.
why he rejects their allegations, and basically dismissed the case with
No,
prejudice.
and also he told them, this is what you need to do if you come back. If you want to appeal, and he said, I'm giving to you as of abundance of caution. He said, as of abundance of caution, I'm giving you a chance. Here's your chance. This is what you need to do. They did not follow the homework.
They didn't.
They did not, I mean, as a teacher, I know. They did not follow the homework. They did not do what the judge told them to do. And they tried to fight every single thing. So, for example, we had one lawyer submit a motion, a judicial notice brief, I think they call it amicus brief, on behalf of Open Hillel. That Open Hillel argues that Hillel San Francisco and Hillel International does not allow people who disagree with the Hillel policies, and they expel anybody who was supposed to be the S and so on, whatsoever. Okay. By the way, Genuine Palestine students, they have a couple of Hillel members who come and go all the time. Like, you know, you sit, you talk, whatever. Nobody gets expelled. Nobody gets expelled. They said, Open Hillel came out and said, this Hillel is actually exclusive. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number one. Secondly, it does not represent all Jews. You keep saying that you represent all Jews. You do not represent all Jews. Sorry. There is no exclusivity over Jewishness by Israel or Zionism. You do not speak for all the Jews, which is what actually Israel and Michael Oren and the rest of them try to do in Pittsburgh. It's like, no, you don't. You do not. Sorry, you do not speak. There are a lot of people who are good intention and with good politicians who refuse to allow Israel to speak in their name. So, and they were there in Pittsburgh, and they were there in the courtroom, and they were there with me, and they were with some of my lawyers and the people who organized with us. Second, also, there were 12 Jewish scholars, senior scholars of Jewish studies, who wrote a brief too, and said that this Zionism does not equal anti-Semitism. The State Department definition is faulty. We stand with Rabab Abdulhadi. The judge did not allow either one of them to be, I think, admitted. And if I'm fuzzy on the details, you should really talk to Mark and Mehnam, because they're better than me about that. But he took it. So we had in our courtroom twice, when we went twice, this huge coalition that represents humanity. I mean, this is the thing, is that we have a coalition that represents humanity, that is on the grassroots, and they have the power of the establishment that's actually quite abusive of the process, that quite abusive of bureaucracy, that is quite bullying and quite intimidating and quite coercive, that's actually trying to cover up what Israel is doing against the Palestinians by trying to create these frivolous things here to stop anybody who wants to talk about it. Anybody who wants to talk about it, they want to silence. So I think the lawsuit, and I just want to say that what the ruling of the judge is really, really important, because it says to anybody anywhere on U.S. campuses that no, anti-Zionism does not equal anti-Semitism. Justice for Palestine is not a product of anti-Semitism. There is no relationship between the two. This is what we're taking away from the case. And this is going to be encouraging people to be able to speak up. It will talk about to everybody who's against fascism, against white supremacy on any of the campuses. It's going to be very helpful to everybody.
I want to touch, because we
don't have that
15
much
minutes.
time. Yeah.
I want to touch on several questions, because this is very important. One, what's next? Two, now you have the judgment on your side, and this has drained you both financially, emotionally, and your attorneys. But something that I know, I mean, they have to be held liable
Yes.
for this time
Accountable,
and
yes.
accountable. So
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the question to you or to your lawyers, but how are you going to recoup the money spent and time and
Yes.
energy and wherever?
Yes. Yes.
And third, which is really important, we keep going to this. We've had you on the show so many times,
Right.
and every single time we never see any positive, I would say, action from the administration of San Francisco State University.
Yes.
Now, you basically took the battle. You relieved them from all the expense and the time and whatever,
no
and
comment.
justice
They have no comment.
and justice was on your side from
Right.
day one. You have been telling them, and they did not invest
They
or
never
put
believed.
any
No,
faith,
Jamal, they took a
any
month to
faith,
assign me a lawyer.
a faith that they didn't have. So now, what's their action? What do you expect?
Okay, so
Let's
say,
start with
okay,
the what's
one.
next.
Okay, so in terms of lawfare, they announced that they're going to appeal. The appeal is going to go to the Ninth Circuit, which is one step before the Supreme Court. And we were wondering whether they would do it or not, or actually, accept defeat and go on, move on. They're not. For them, this is very important. For them, they really need to silence anything at San Francisco State. And they said San Francisco State is the most anti-Semitic, and the most nasty, and the most. Of course, it's not justified. It is not even. There is no evidence about Jewish students are not coming to San Francisco State, because they are. Okay, so this is, and actually the people who have been disfranchised San Francisco State, us. It's the voices of and I say us, Palestine, Arabs, Muslims, people talking about justice and against white
And the
supremacy
Ahmed
and so on.
program, and the Ahmed
program. This is, when I say us, I'm talking about a big us. Okay,
Yes.
questions of justice. So that is one thing. So now they're going to appeal. So the question of appeal would delay a little bit our how we're going to hold them accountable. I would be more comfortable to leave this to Mark and Behnam. They are happy to come on the show and
We will have
explain
them.
the legal and talk about actually the intricacies of the case, because I've read it 3 times and I talked to them about it, and I have a lot of education to go. I'm not a legal scholar. I'm just I'm the person defendant here. 2 is that we are the next step is to actually hold San Francisco State accountable. Look, now that if San Francisco State was afraid, let's say, I'm putting the most positive spin
I think
about
San
it.
Francisco State wanted to settle.
Not they think they did. They did want to settle. They did want to settle, and we did this whole movement to prevent them from settling. And now they're vindicated. Now San Francisco State, California State University is vindicated.
Did they pick up the phone and thank you?
Nobody contacted
Did they pay
me.
your bills?
Of course not. Of course not. Okay, no, they're still fighting me about even reimbursements and stuff. So okay, so this is okay. So if San Francisco State if the recipe was the McCarthyist recipe, in the sense that there is this huge attack by very powerful forces in order to silence, isolate, make it impossible, doing livelihoods and so on. This was the case, and actually certainly said they did with some quarters of San Francisco State. My colleagues are amazing. The faculty union is amazing. The students are amazing. But the administration actually has been very much, I believe, and I'm actually accusing them of this, okay, that they have been colluding with Zionism and
100%.
using the bureaucracy to actually destroy and starve Ahmed. If the reason they were doing this is because of the McCarthyist old recipe, if that's the only reason, that's gone. Now that's lifted. There is no reason. We defeated very, very strong ruling. It's stronger than I even expected. Okay, it's okay, and I will say it's amazing. So now San Francisco State has no excuse, and I don't really, of course it would be really nice for somebody to say congratulations, يعطيك العافية.
No, just
You were really
issue a press
exhausted.
statement and
No,
say we were
they
on the side
refused to
of
comment.
justice. We
They
are on the
refused to
side of...
comment because I think the reason, and now I'm going to say that's what I suspect, but I think the reason is that San Francisco State is so much colluding with the Zionists that they do not know how to deal with it, to even issue a press release to congratulate their own lawyer.
Maybe
who
they were
represented
expecting
them.
defeat.
Yeah,
They're
this
hoping
is-
for defeat.
this
I
is-
don't know.
I don't know. This is their own lawyer who actually just tell him يعطيك العافية. I mean, that. Okay, not my lawyers, but their own lawyer. The lawyer Brad Phillips who defended them. Nothing. Okay, they decline comment. Why is it that they decline comment? When we did the Islamophobia teaching around the Muslim ban, they stole it, and then they said they're the ones who organized the teaching. They came with the press release and so on. So they're very quick to do anything. Why didn't they do it this? So that's a question. The second thing is that I don't know about the motives. I'm just speculating here as a scholar sitting and talking to you. But for us, the next step is to hold them accountable. We want the Ahmed Studies program. I am not going anywhere. I want the harassment to stop. I want this toxic environment to stop. I want to be able to do my work. I want to be able to live my life. I want them to stop dishing more and more and more responsibilities
And
on
I
me.
want the faculty positions.
And I want the faculty. Of course, this is big part of it. The reinstatement of the Ahmed lines. And so we have actually filed the lawsuit against San Francisco State University. We have filed the lawsuit against, which I will invite Mark and Benham to speak about it, because again, I'm not a legal person on, but I want them to be held accountable. I want them to come and do the right thing. I appealed to President Wang when he stepped down to do the right thing, that this is the time. It's never too late to do the time for justice. And when you do it, we will stop saying, oh, we told you so and so on. I'm not going to do that. I'm not gloating. I do not gloat, okay? I want us to have a program. I want us to be able to do our work. I want us to be able to work with everybody to produce justice. This is what I really want to do. And in that sense, we are, and I don't know if I can say this, we're submitting today a proposal. Tonight we have the anniversary of the Palestinian mural, which was a huge victory, right? So
right.
we have the mural, we have the Edward Said Scholarship, we have the collaborative with An-Najah, and today we submitted
We have
the
a very
proposal.
successful program.
We have a very
I know
successful
that
program.
as a fact.
We want to have our courses. People want to support. I know I'm not going to talk about fundraising, because this is not the place. I'm not going to do it. I made a mistake last time, and I apologize.
Well,
So
this
I'm
is a
not-
non-profit
yes,
organization.
So I'm not going to do that. But I would like people to support us by calling on San Francisco State to allow us to have the courses. We can't even have the courses we want next semester. They are icing the courses, and they're saying choose between an Arab American identity course and a course that is taught by a leading Muslim feminist. I mean, I'm not going to flip any coins. I don't want to give up on the Palestinian mural course. I want all the courses we requested. We need the courses. The students are excited. Even now with the publicity about the lawsuit, there is so much more excitement. We need to do that. The other thing that we are submitting today in the afternoon, we're going to meet the deadline. We are submitting a proposal for study abroad in Palestine. So we are going to realize the collaborative with An-Najah National University.
What a dream.
And we are going to actually team teach a course myself, which I have a course on Palestine, and the Dean of Faculty of Education,
Wow.
who has a course called Discover Palestine. So we want to bring our students together. We want to study together. We want to be able to visit different places in Palestine, meet different communities, meet people who are struggling, both among Palestinians and also Israeli anti-occupation.
fantastic, Rabab.
We want to be able to do all of this stuff. And we really hope that San Francisco State is not going to come up with all sorts of bureaucratic reasons, as they always try to do, in order to stop us. We're hoping that maybe now they can just give us a break, just give us a breathing space. I would be very happy. I don't have to even say, okay, they're not going to do it. I would be very happy if they give us a breathing space. And we really need our people, our supporters, to hold them accountable. We celebrate. We move on with the program. We want support for the program, and we want to be able to hold them accountable for also the damages that they have done already, because I don't think it's okay. I want the faculty lines. I want the Ahmed program. That's what I came to do. I am going to do what I came to do. This is what you brought me to do. I'm gonna do it.
Justice prevailed in this
Finally,
case,
yes.
and it will prevail. This is what I think. I think if the Lawfare Project, they think they can bully their way on college campuses
They lost.
and smear academics, they are going to lose again, be it at the appeals court, the Supreme Court. I feel that they are going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said that before, and I've said they are going to lose during this
Yes.
third round that they've had. Now, again, few minutes,
We have a few minutes.
your message to those who have been supporting you, because, we've been talking about it, and I know you've been trying to reach out to a lot, but a lot of people are going to be listening.
There's not enough time to
No,
thank
but
you.
there are a lot of people going to be listening.
So grateful.
A lot of people are going to be listening to the show. At least let them hear from you.
Jamal, I don't think I can. I mean, I get really, really
And your
very
students,
emotional
by the way.
about it. I get, people who actually showed up all the time,
Yes.
whether on calls, whether in court, whether by writing letters. The academic institutions who wrote statements, even when they were threatened. The colleagues who kind of one day I get an email from Zach Luckman, who's in the Middle East Studies Association. He says to me, do you want us to write a statement? I didn't. I just had no time. I was like, I'm so busy with my work, with my teaching, with taking care of my health, with taking care of my students, with the lawsuit, with, multiple things and so on. And I'm like, this is really amazing. California Scholars for Academic Freedom, our faculty union, our people in the community, the students, the faculty who teach with me, the people who went on and organized again and again, the people who silently challenged the university around the question of the posters, around the question of campus watch. The people of the various delegations who said that we're not going to let this happen because this is really very important. It's very, very important to all of us. I think for me, it's really... For me, I've always said, okay, yes, I'm not minimizing that I fought and I have steadfastness, and I do have steadfastness, and I'm, look, I was born and raised in
Don't
Nablus.
minimize that.
It's called the Mountain of Fire. Yeah. I have been raised to be dignified, to be proud, to not give in about questions of justice. I can't, okay? That's the way I am. But I would not have been able to do it without the support of everybody. There is so much gratitude, there is so much appreciation, there is so much love in my heart that it allowed me. Because if I did not have support, every single time I used to feel like so distraught. I'm like, oh my God, here it comes again. Like you see somebody who's coming in, people from the community doing fundraisers, people inviting me, people speaking, people writing statements, that students sending me little messages, coming to meetings, organizing, staying up till the wee hours to create this proposal. Because I'm not doing it by myself. I'm actually doing it with the students. We're coming together. When I criticize Dr. Wong about the Zionists are welcome, this group comes out, Zionism, Jews Against Zionism, the Women and Gender Studies Department at San Francisco State, the Jewish Voice for Peace, the Palestinian students, Black Student Union. I mean, there is so much thanks to go around. And this is what makes a movement. I really strongly believe that we can win. When we put our resources together, we have the strong message of justice, and we bring our resources, we can win.
And that's the voice of the victor, Professor Rabab Abdulhadi. And I don't want to minimize the centrality of your role, Rabab, because without you, this would have never happened. I don't need to remind you and our listeners that you're not the first person they attacked.
Yes.
But you're the first person that's won.
Yeah.
Let's keep that in mind. Well, Jamal, we've come to the end of another Arab Talk. Thank you all for listening to Arab Talk.
And thank you both for having me on the show again and again.
We consider you an honorary DJ on on Arab Talk. Send us your comments to arabtalk@kpoo.com.
Follow us on several things now. We are on several platforms, Jess.
We're on SoundCloud.
iTunes.
We're on Google Podcasts. And
Facebook Live.
Facebook will not
Facebook Live
shut you down
and Twitter.
again.
And
Yeah.
hopefully Facebook will not shut us down. We'll see you all next week.